Anyway, doctor, I heard Sajid
You tell
Javid
me.
came to pay you a visit at the hospital. Tell me what
He
happened.
did.
Did you give him
So,
what for? Did you tell him me shit? What? Tell me what happened.
that's not professional courtesy, man. It's not my style. I'm going to have a discussion with him. I'm not going to do it on the cameras for the sake of that. He is going around the country at the moment. It's called the Recovery. I think it's called the Recovery Roadmap or Road Mission or something like that. And he's just visiting a lot of hospitals. We were picked. We're one of four hospitals. The most kind of prestigious of our four is the big one in Edgbaston that everybody knows about, right? But they didn't go there. He didn't go there. He came to ours. And the reason why is because the department in which I'm working in now, which we developed some new pathways for, is the busiest in the country. So for what I do, where I work now, in that area of emergency medicine, it's the busiest in the country. We process the most amount of people. It's called SDEC, same day emergency care.
Yeah.
I'm currently developing something now, which is to give people this analogy. You know, everyone's got Amazon, right? You got Amazon. I'll ask you the question. So you got Amazon Prime, India.
Mm.
What does that guarantee you?
Next day
What?
delivery.
Absolutely. Within 24 hours, you have your product. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We're delivering life-saving treatment within 6 to 8 hours, and people still complain. And it's like, people, Amazon does it within 24 hours. Okay. You have to sit in a chair for a little while and you're complaining when we're excluding heart attacks, blood clots in your chest, giving you antibiotics, meaning that you don't have to stay in hospital, you can go home. Some appreciation. Anyway, side point. So he came, it was a 30-minute window. He was in A&E for a little bit. Then he came to visit my area. When he got to our area, I think I was the first person he came across. And so I think he locked eyes. He was like, okay, this guy's, some form of Indian or Pakistani
Did
or
you speak
whatever.
in Punjabi to him?
No, everyone keeps asking me this after. I didn't know about this clip about his Punjabi or whatever,
Have
but
you
he came
seen the
over.
clip, Karan?
I haven't seen the clip.
Oh, the clip makes you want to fucking crawl up inside,
Apparently,
man.
he is Punjabi though.
Yeah, but going by that clip,
Mm.
I don't believe it.
I mean, not everyone can speak it fluently, but again,
Just to
I'm only
just to
going
give
to
people
converse
context,
with
yeah,
him.
hang on.
Go
If
on,
you
go on.
go onto Twitter, yeah,
Yeah.
type in Sajid Javid Punjabi or
Mm,
Sajid Javid, and what's that guy called? Jay Singh Sohal. Yeah, he was running
mm,
for the commissioner in Birmingham.
mm.
He tried to give him an endorsement in Punjabi, and it was a mix of English Punjabi, but none of his
Right.
Punjabi sounded Punjabi. It sounded like he was speaking it for the first time with an English accent. So it came across really badly, really whitewashed, which isn't what
Okay.
you kind of wanted to go for. But yeah, I digress. Carry on.
Cool. But he was conversing in English, so I'm going to reciprocate with English. So we locked eyes. He walked down. We did some
We locked
elbows.
eyes,
Locked eyes.
eyes met.
And he said, how are things going? What are you doing? And at that point, I was triaging a young lady. I had my computer screen set up. I said, well, as you can see, we're very busy today. And I made a joke. I said that probably because, they knew you were coming. And then he had a bit of a giggle. And then we were
Haha,
just talking about the
haha.
process, about how we process patients and how this is what we're having to do now to process and manage the volume of
Mhm.
patients. Volume has tripled. Staffing in size of hospitals has not tripled. That's the basic headline issue. Okay. So by the end of it, he said to me, he goes, so Jazz, we need more staff. I said, yes, we absolutely do need more staff, but there needs to be great incentives to recruit people into this, line of work. Uh, and that was it. And then he said, thank you for your, your service and your time. And he moved on. And then he went to my boss. And then I had another bit where I had to go and I had to walk past all of them, like all the chief executives and him were there, the camera crew and everything, to speak to a nurse. And on my way back, my boss was like, oh, you've already met Jazz. And then so I just stayed again. And then we had a little bit more of a chat about the same thing, about trying to, people that don't need to be in hospital, trying to get them home as quickly as they can. And if you have to be there, ways to not admit them into hospital and get them managed without patients. And then he said, okay, thank you, boss's name. And then I think he forgot my name. He called me Jaspal or something. He's like, thank you,
Lovely,
Jaspal. I was
lovely.
like,
Just barn.
it's all
Yeah.
good.
Cheers.
And that was it. He exited. And then it was on ITV News. I didn't
All
make the
right.
cut on
Cool.
ITV
So
News. But
be
yeah.
honest with me, Goran. Yeah. Do you think anything you said to him he would have taken into account?
No, look, I think these visits are
Arbitrary.
optics made. Yeah,
Yeah.
well, they're optics mainly.
Optics.
Um, there are obviously real discussions that happen. So people like the chief executive will spend a lot more time with him. Okay. And
Mm.
they're obviously going to be fed information from the people on the ground, which is people like us. So directly, yeah, 2-3 minutes is not enough time for him to understand the scope of the problem. Absolutely agreed. Absolutely
So
agreed.
it's just a bit of a media tour, basically. Yeah.
A what?
A media tour, like touring around hospitals, trying to
Mm.
show that he's getting involved. I get it. Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's presence.
The
It's
bit you
all
said about
presence.
incentives, that makes
Mm.
sense. But I think the biggest incentive as well is pay and reimbursing the NHS staff properly. I think you might have said that politely, but that's the real stumbling block in the NHS. People get squeezed out because they're overworked and underpaid. And because of Brexit, there's a massive drop in foreign people coming to work in the NHS that were based in the EU as nurses. So that's a big contributing factor. So I think that comes under the umbrella of incentives. So I think you said it in the nicest way possible without being rude.
Look, more money, everyone's happy with more money, right? But so what did we say earlier? I think the NHS is the 5th largest employer in the world, or maybe the 1st in the UK. It's big. So it's a lot of money for taxpayers. So it's how do you do that is the question. I've always said as a preset to that, we need pay to increase, but other incentives, things like our parking should be free. Why are we paying for parking? Okay.
Oh, you pay for parking? Oh, yeah, you do, don't you?
Yeah, pay for parking. How about free meals for NHS staff? Free on-site childcare for those staff members who work shift work, or gym membership on site. There are certain things
stuff like that does genuinely
goodwill gestures. Right?
No, but it's a sweetener. It's not the go-to incentive. It's the cherry you add on top of the cake. It's not the cake. That's what needs to be made clear on it. If you're taking that step to fix it, it's not going to fix it. You have to take the bigger leap first, then add the little bits on after.
Yeah, I see it the other way because I think making the bigger leap is harder with that level of thing. But look, the game plan they play is what people are kind of crushed morale-wise, can't deliver on its services. Privatize, the NHS. Privatization comes in. What happens to all the pay of all the people working in it? That will happen.
What do you mean? Whoa, say that again.
Look at doctors' earnings in private healthcare systems. Close to 500,000.
Yeah, it does. It does increase a lot.
It's a no-brainer, man. It's not good. It's good for us. It's good for us. It's not good for the population.
No.
So we have to be careful what we ask for. If we're asking for that at the cost of the NHS, because that's what they'll say. Well, what do you want then? And then they hold us accountable to that. So you want more money?
Hang on. If you ask for more pay, it doesn't mean privatize the NHS to get that pay. It doesn't mean that. That doesn't mean that,
but that's the easiest way to do it.
No, it's not, Karan. It's simply the way you diversify your budget plans, right? If the government can shake money whenever they want to shake it, you can get it out. If the government's going to write off billions in tax fraud and not go after it, you can get that money back. It's available. It's not a priority to you. Call a spade, man.
Tell me a meaningful increase in income.
What do you mean a meaningful increase in income?
Okay, so
average it should be banded, basically. All right. It should be banded based on experience, based on how long you've been there for.
That's already
okay. So then why are nurses paid fuck all then?
No, because it's value, isn't it? It's how they value. But I can't talk for nurses. Let me just talk about doctors then. So you're saying increased pay. I'm trying to understand what you feel would be a reasonable increase in pay, right? That's what
I'm not saying doctors aren't underpaid, right? But I'm saying the real priority and shortage at the moment, correct me if I'm wrong, it's nurses, right? It isn't doctors. The nurses are more short compared to doctors. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay, fine.
Short.
So let's address the bigger problem. The bigger problem is nursing. Okay. The nurses aren't paid properly at all. They haven't been for years. And it's not even going up with inflation. So with the cost of living crisis that's going on at the moment, it's causing an issue that they're not going to be able to bridge. Either you stay there, get squeezed even more, or you jump sectors and try and get some more money elsewhere. If you address that nursing issue of pay, that will be an easier bridge to gap in terms of money compared to gapping the bridge for doctors, because there's less of a jump you have to do to give nurses money compared to doctors earning money, because doctors amounts they earn vary dramatically, don't they? So how much does a junior doctor start on?
So let's say 26.
Okay, 26, and you can get to up to what, hundreds of thousands if you're a high consultant?
Starting consultant, 85.
Okay, so let's say 25.
Let's say up to 150k, something like that.
Okay, 26 to 85 to be realistic, to not cut out the top 1% examples. Yeah, what's the highest paid nurse eligible to earn? Because I genuinely don't know. And what does a starting nurse start on? I don't know, but I'm pretty sure it's not the same gap. I don't think that the highest nurse to reach the same level as a consultant is 85k, and I don't think an entry nurse starts at 26k. I'm pretty sure it's less. So if you bridge that gap first,
18,000, I would.
There you go, and that's fucked, man. I was paid more than 18,000 in my starting job as an intern, jumping in banking. So yeah, it's not comparable. If you bridge that gap first, you'll see the NHS start to fix itself. Now the government can shake a money tree when they want to. It's do you want to shake it? The answer is no. Case in point.
So then we need a strike. I mean,
I agree. Maybe if you have
situation.
to strike, but
Yeah.
now you can't. Now you can't do a strike and protest. No, sorry, you can strike, you can't protest though. If you protest, you potentially could be arrested now under the new government guidance.
You have to force the issue. The problem is, you generally, what do we say? It's healthcare underpaid because there are a lot of people that can do what you can do, right? That's why anybody's underpaid in theory, right? You pay people more if there's less people and there's a requirement for that skill set.
Say that again. You pay people more if there's.
So the analogy I always give people is, why is the assassin paid more than the palliative care nurse?
No. Ignore the analogy. Take me through the previous thing you just said. So you said you pay people more when there's less people available to do it. Is that correct?
No. Yes. So say if there's one surgeon in the UK that can do this one particular operation, and there's a big demand for that skill set, then he'll be paid a lot more, because there's not many people.
Is there not a big demand for nurses at the moment?
No. This is my whole point. So that's what I'm saying. In normal economics, that should be the dynamic. Now, exactly, we've got a need for loads of nurses. We haven't got enough, and they're still not paying them. And it's like, because what they're doing is that I'll give you a real example, man. You want real numbers, yeah? So on Wednesday, when health minister was there, in that area, I told you the business in what we do in the country, we had 70 patients, 70. Okay.
Yeah.
3 nurses for 70 patients. On a ward, generally, you'll have, let's say, 18, 19 bedded patients. Now, granted, these patients are not in beds. They're like on chairs, what we call fit to sit. So they're not as unwell. Okay. They don't need observations and all that kind of stuff as often. But still, 70 patients for 3 nurses, man. Any other industry, we say this all the time. When you close the doors, you say this isn't safe. Da 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 da. How do you do that with people, man? How do you stop taking people who are walking in saying I'm unwell or blah 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 blah?
That sounds close to schooling numbers in public schools. So a class of 30 to 1 teacher. That's kind of the closest analogy.
90 to 3. Yeah. Which, okay. I'm not going to compare. I mean, that has its own stresses. But
no. Schooling is very different to nursing. Like it's not the same. But that's the nearest industry I can think of that's publicly funded. That gives you like a similar ballpark number. So
and we can't do anything about that. It's just like, well, how do you process that volume? This is the main issue we have now. The volume that's coming in is not mapped. Look, we have increased, we've changed rotas, we've increased the number of doctors and But even with that, man, you still got to see these people. It's not, and then what we were talking about before the minister came was, medicine is now changing to a point where if you have the right amount of time, you can be thorough with your patients, right? Now we're getting to the point where we're having to practice kind of triage medicine. It's just like, okay, I can only focus on 1 or 2 things with you. I've got to exclude those, and thank you, bye bye.
Yeah,
that's kind of the state of medicine at the moment.
It's worrying, isn't it?
No, it is worrying. You're right. It's not the only way. Privatization isn't the only way, but I think that's the play they want to make. That's what
I agree in the sense that they may take that leap just to make things easier for themselves, just so they can say, well, we funded it. But the hypocrisy comes in when you can say, well, you can fund it, you just don't want to because you've got other things you feel like the money should be going to.
Can't or won't.
Yeah. And the NHS has slowly been getting privatized over the years. It's just not been public knowledge that it has happened because it doesn't get headlines, but it has been slowly moving in that direction. I hope it gets stopped, but who knows? Only so much you guys can do about it, unless, as you said, people strike and have a bit of an uprising, really. I don't know if that's happened in the past. It might have done.
2015 junior doctor strike, but it'd be interesting if it happened at the consultant
If it happened
level.
at nursing, that would be very interesting.
Nursing, but consultant level, man. Like if they...
Consultants are going to do it. Why would they do it? They're getting paid.
They are, but again, it's relative, man. Like, again, I've told you okay, here's a stat for you. So I was since 2015, I'm with a respiratory consultant, like Karan, same specialty, lungs.
Yeah.
He's been in the game 15 years, top of his game, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, Jazz, I can't afford to send my kids to school, like private school. He's like, but how am I valued in the system at all? Top of my game, like people come to me across the country for my opinion. He's like, any other industry, man, I'll be on like close to £1 million. It doesn't work.
But hang on, why doesn't he just go do the same? He splits his time half with NHS, half with private.
So in his specialty, for example, so private practice does obviously exist, but it's favored to certain specialties. So like bones, trauma orthopedics, a lot more private work, fixing knees and things. His specialty is
Yeah.
not that much. There's a bit like sleep clinics and things. Cardiology is a very good. So yes and no, but he's just saying that even as a consultant, this shouldn't be a problem for me now. If I'm at the top of my top point, this should be sorted now.
Oh, so he thinks he's at the apex of his industry, doesn't get any higher, and he's saying,
Yeah.
I'm kind of stuck. I've hit my ceiling. I can't do much more.
Yeah. So
unless he picks up another specialty.
Yeah, which you don't, man. 15 years in the game, you're not going to do that. Either you do side hustles, you do property, you do all these other things. UK doctors or UK medics will always say, look, we do these side hustles because the primary income isn't the same as, say, if you worked in the States or Australia or India, or Canada or whatever. Because your primary income there is it, man. You want to specialize and get to the apex because doing that secures you across everything. Here, we have to diversify and do all these other things.
Yeah. Okay, I can see that point of view.
Imagine the consultants walking out, man. These are the decision makers. That's what I mean. They've got the managers by the balls, man. They're the ones that discharge patients. They're the ones that make the decisions, really. When the junior doctors did the strike, okay, it was good. The consultants had to do all the work. But ultimately, they're the guys who make decisions anyway. Logistically, they're not as good as us, like using printers and doing the actual bits of what they make in the plans. But they've also got all the knowledge. Imagine that, man. They walk out, hospitals stop. You close the doors. There's nothing.
So really, you need the nurses and the consultants to collaborate.
Yeah.
Top
everything
and bottom
comes under that umbrella.
That way, everything stops. The top and bottom stops. Done. Karan, I think you should start an uprising. I'm just saying. All right, safe. We can move on. We can move on now.
Okay.
All right. So first topic. I'm sure you must have seen the crest of the dick.
Second topic.
Well, first real topic. That was just us talking. This is planned topics now. Yeah.
For 25 minutes.
Yeah, for 25 minutes. All right. However, all right.